Chapter 1: The apartment above mine. I moved into the building because the rent was unusually low. It was an old 6-story apartment block built sometime in the 1950s. The hallways were narrow, the elevator rarely worked, and every sound traveled through the walls. None of that bothered me. What bothered me was the apartment above mine. I lived in apartment 51, directly beneath apartment 61. Every night, usually between 1 and 3 in the morning, I heard someone walking above my bedroom. The footsteps were slow and deliberate. They crossed from one side of the room to the other, stopped for several seconds, and then crossed back. I assumed my upstairs neighbor worked nights. After 2 weeks, I met the building manager in the lobby and mentioned the noise. He looked confused. Apartment 61 was empty. The previous tenant had moved out months earlier, and the apartment was being renovated before anyone else could move in. I asked whether construction workers might be entering at night. He said no. The building's maintenance team worked during the day, and the apartment had remained locked because asbestos had been found behind one of the bedroom walls. That evening, the footsteps began at 1:17 a.m. I recorded them on my phone. The next morning, I showed the recording to the manager. He agreed that it sounded like someone walking above me and said he would inspect the apartment. I went with him. Apartment 61 was dusty and almost completely empty. Plastic sheets covered the floor. Several sections of wallpaper had been removed, exposing cracked plaster underneath. The manager checked every room. Nobody was there. Before leaving, I noticed something strange in the bedroom. The plastic sheet covering the floor had been disturbed. A narrow path had been worn through the dust, crossing from one wall to the other. The path was directly above my bed. The manager changed the lock that afternoon. For 3 nights, I heard nothing. Then the footsteps returned. This time, they stopped directly above me. A few seconds later, I heard 3 slow knocks coming through my ceiling. I moved my bed into the living room and called the manager. He inspected apartment 61 again the following morning. The new lock was still intact, the windows were closed, and there was no sign anyone had entered. But something had changed inside the bedroom. 3 sections of the plastic floor covering had been torn open. Beneath them were 3 dark stains in the old wood. The stains were directly above the places where I had heard the knocks. I moved out before the end of the month. Several weeks later, I received a message from the tenant who had moved into apartment 41, directly beneath my old apartment. They had found my number on a piece of forwarded mail. They wanted to know whether I had ever heard footsteps coming from apartment 51, my apartment, the one that had been empty since I left. Chapter 2: The Laundry Room. My sister lived in a large apartment complex where every floor had a shared laundry room. She lived on the 7th floor. The laundry room was small and windowless, containing 3 washing machines, 3 dryers, and a plastic chair beside the door. Residents accessed it using their apartment keycards. One evening, my sister put her clothes into a washing machine and returned to her apartment while the cycle ran. When she came back 40 minutes later, the machine was empty. Her wet clothes had been removed and folded neatly on the plastic chair. She assumed another resident had needed the machine. It was rude, but not unusual. The following week, it happened again. This time, the machine was still running when she returned. Her clothes were folded on the chair, completely dry. Inside the washing machine was a different load of laundry, old-fashioned men's clothing, a white shirt, dark trousers, and a gray wool coat. All of it was covered in water, but the machine's drum was not moving. My sister contacted building management. They checked the access log. Her keycard was the only one used to enter the laundry room during that hour. Management removed the unfamiliar clothing and promised to inspect the machine. A technician found nothing wrong. 2 nights later, someone knocked on my sister's apartment door. Nobody was outside. On the floor was the gray wool coat from the washing machine. It had been folded neatly and placed against her door. She called security. The hallway camera showed nobody approaching her apartment. The coat simply appeared between 2 frames of the recording. Security took it away. The next morning, management contacted every resident to ask whether anyone recognized the clothing. An elderly tenant on the 2nd floor recognized the coat. It had belonged to her husband. He had disappeared from the building 19 years earlier. He had gone downstairs to collect laundry and never returned. Police searched the complex at the time, but found no trace of him. His keycard had last been used to enter the 7th floor laundry room. That room had previously been part of apartment 74. The apartment was divided during renovations, and one of its bedrooms became the shared laundry room. My sister lived in apartment 73. That evening, she heard a washing machine begin running through the wall behind her bedroom. She went into the hallway. The laundry room door was locked. Through it, she could hear the machine spinning. Then she heard the plastic chair scraping slowly across the floor. Something knocked from the other side. 3 quiet knocks. She did not open the door. Management permanently closed the laundry room the following week. Residents now use the machines on the 6th floor. My sister says the 7th floor machines are still connected to electricity. She knows because some nights, through her bedroom wall, she can still hear one of them running. Chapter 3: The Intercom. My friend lived in apartment 32 of a small building with an old intercom system beside the front door. Visitors pressed an apartment number outside, and the resident could speak to them before unlocking the entrance. At 2:40 a.m. one night, his intercom buzzed. He answered. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then a woman whispered, "Please let me back in." My friend assumed she was visiting another resident and had pressed the wrong number. He told her she had the wrong apartment. The woman repeated herself. "Please let me back in, I live here." He asked which apartment she lived in. She answered, 32. My friend did not unlock the door. He looked through his window, which overlooked the entrance. Nobody was standing outside. The next morning, he told the building manager. The manager said the intercom was old and occasionally connected calls to the wrong apartment. My friend accepted the explanation. 3 nights later, the intercom buzzed again at exactly 2:40 a.m. The same woman asked to be let inside. This time, my friend used his phone to record the conversation. He asked for her name. She gave the name Sarah Wilkes. The following day, the manager checked the building's tenant records. A woman named Sarah Wilkes had lived in apartment 32 almost 30 years earlier. She died in a fire inside the apartment. The building had been repaired, and the apartment was eventually rented again. The manager suggested someone had learned the story and was playing a cruel joke. He disconnected the intercom in apartment 32. At 2:40 a.m. that night, it buzzed anyway. My friend did not answer. The buzzing continued for almost 5 minutes, then it stopped. A few seconds later, someone knocked on his apartment door. He checked the peephole. The hallway was empty. Another knock came from behind him, from inside the apartment. The sound came from the small utility closet beside the kitchen. My friend called the police and left through the front door. Officers searched the apartment. Nobody was inside. The utility closet contained only the boiler and several shelves. However, one officer noticed a section of wall behind the boiler that was darker than the surrounding plaster. The building manager later explained that this had once been the apartment's original entrance. After the fire, the hallway layout was changed and the old doorway was sealed behind the utility closet. My friend moved out 2 weeks later. Before he left, he removed the intercom unit from the wall. Behind it, written directly onto the plaster, were 4 words, "Please let me back in." The manager painted over them. The new tenant contacted my friend several months later after finding his name on old mail. They wanted to ask about the disconnected intercom. It had started buzzing every night at 2:40 a.m. They said a woman kept asking to be let back into apartment 32. They had already pressed the button once. They wanted to know why the knocking had not stopped.